guys, welcome back to Let's Talk Story. Pono's not here, as you can see, but we have my sister Melissa with us today.
Hi.
And today we're going to be talking about like us growing up, and we're going to camp on like the military kid, at least our like experience with it, being a military kid. We're going to camp on that for a little bit. But yeah, we're just going to talk about you and our childhood, the parts that I do remember, because I have a horrible memory, as you know, and I know, we all know. So yeah, why don't you start off by telling us a fun fact about you, also your age. Just tell us a little something about you.
Wow. I didn't expect.
And you've never done anything like this, right?
No.
Never. I feel like I've never seen you really on camera, like
Yeah.
barely ever.
Yeah, I avoid it.
Yeah.
At all
Anyways,
costs.
well, here she is, ladies and gentlemen, Melissa Marie Vega. Tell us
full name.
full name.
Might as well give out my social security number.
No, you and Pono said that.
Oh,
It's
really?
So funny. Yeah. So, yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Alyssa's sister. I'm the
True.
middle of.
Middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Middle child.
Middle Melissa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How old are you?
Oh God.
We always forget our own ages. At this point, it's just like whatever. You're 27.
27.
27. What do you do? Tell us about what you do.
I have a boring job. I work for Uncle Sam. I work for the federal government. Boring.
True. In the medical field-ish, right?
I work for the Army. So I work at a medical facility for the Department of the Army.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What do you like to do for fun? For people who don't know you, like, what do you... I know one.
Oh, go ahead.
Hiking. You don't do it as often anymore, but that is
Yeah.
something that you really love.
Well, most people don't like to go outside and do anything strenuous nowadays. So
Yeah, hiking.
and hiking on my own, as much as I would love to do it,
Not safe.
I would prefer not to freak the people out that actually
Give
would
me
care.
a heart attack. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So hiking is one of them. What other things? do
I
you
like to
do?
read.
Okay.
I like to read books. I like to hang out with my nephew.
She's a great babysitter, great aunt. I love it. Yes.
Yeah, if I could hang out with him all day, every day, I would.
Well, here you can have. No, I'm just kidding.
Watch your words. I'll take it. I'll take him from you. He's an angel.
Yes. So as you can probably tell, she's 27. I mentioned I'm 28 in the last episode, and that makes us like just a little over a year apart.
A year and 3 weeks.
A year and 3 weeks. Wow, to the T. Yeah, that's pretty close. Which I think the benefit of that growing up, to me, I don't know if you liked it as much, but I loved being able to have a sister in like school with me. So especially high school, like that's a hard time in life, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I'm a shy person. You're more outgoing than I am. Maybe before, for sure. Maybe now you've kind of like not been as outgoing, if that makes sense. But you were more outgoing than me, that's for sure. Like you had more friends.
I think the difference with us is I feel not overcompensate. I mean, I guess you could say overcompensate, but I tend to approach people and want to make an instant connection, and then I mellow out the longer and the more you know me.
Yeah.
But you're the kind of person that's harder to break into
Yeah.
or to let people in. But then
Once I'm in.
yeah, and then you're just out of control. Respectfully.
Out of control. I love it.
You get a little more outgoing, and I think people see your personality switch. So you tend to be a lot more.
That's so interesting. I never thought about it like that. But yeah, we're a year apart. So growing up for me was always helpful to have you in school and blah, 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 blah. Through those like tough times, we could always relate to each other in certain things. And so let's just start from the beginning. Good old Paterson, New Jersey.
What do you remember about Paterson, New Jersey?
Honestly, I really have like a great memory of our street, Bergen Street.
Oh yeah, okay,
Like
okay.
I see it clearly.
I was gonna say,
And
what
it's
good
not
memory
like
do you have?
we were only there till like I was like what 2 or 3 maybe, and then we would go back every now and then, not super often, but to go visit. And I just remember Bergen Street. Like I Google it often, honestly, like Google Map it.
Like wait, what's often to you?
Like
how many
I've done
times
it a couple times this year.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I Google it just so I can see the house. It's no longer really there.
I don't think our family even owns that home anymore.
They don't. Our grandparents, we're talking about our grandparents' house on Bergen Street in Paterson, New Jersey. And it wasn't even like a mansion, nothing. It was actually like Paterson is not the best. Yeah, it's not the best place to live. But I don't know why. I just have like this really clear memory of it. I just feel like there was a lot of good moments. There was probably not so many good moments, but I just have a good like vibe about it that to the point where I want to go back literally to Bergen Street, literally to the corner store. I don't know if you remember what I'm talking about. The park and the corner store, although I know it will be like very dangerous if I were to step foot there now.
That was what I was going to say. Yeah. I don't think your expectations would have been met.
No, I know it's not going to be met, but I would just go just to drive by. Honestly
to say you've done it.
Yeah, just to say I've done it and gone back and show Pono kind of where we grew up. Although it's probably worse than it was then, but it was still pretty bad then. But anyway, so yeah, Paterson, New Jersey, that's where we were born, not really raised, but born there. We're there for like, probably like a year-ish.
I don't think I was even there yet. I think I was only there like 9 or so months.
Yeah, so, but then we would go back to visit. Our grandparents are there. Our dad, Paul, is from there as well, still living there. And yeah, so then we ended up moving to Kissimmee, Florida, because our parents got a divorce when we were super, super young. I think I was like 2, like I mentioned.
Well, I think it's also a point to mention that our parents were very, very young.
Yes. Mom was like 20, I think, when she had me, 19 or 20.
No, she was like 18 because mom right now is
40 something.
Oh, my 27. She's 48.
Anyway, so she was young. She was like young when she had us. They were young. They were both young, our parents, and ended up not working out. They split up for whatever reasons. And then she decided, because her family, our grandparents and her sisters, were living in Kissimmee, or at least our grandparents were. I don't know if our aunts were.
Some of them, but not all of them.
Yeah, so they moved. Mom took us and moved to Kissimmee, Florida, where we were pretty much, I would say, kind of raised in a way, if you had to put it that way. In Kissimmee, Florida. But yeah, and then we were never like super in contact with our biological dad for those years and many years growing up. We kept pretty good contact with our grandparents, our biological dad's parents, Kathy and Pablo. We loved them so much. And yeah, so that's pretty much like our upbringing. And then going from Paterson to Kissimmee, where we were kind of like raised, quote unquote, to live with. I don't even remember, honestly, the early days. Like, I don't know who we were living with. I don't know if we moved in with
we were living with Mommy and Papa Hugo,
our grandparents. I don't even remember, honestly, that much. I just remember, obviously, there's good memories with them. And I remember their house. Obviously, my grandma still lives there and stuff like that.
Well, I think you're leaving out a portion where I don't recall this, but mom always says, like, when we lived in New Jersey, so did Mommy and Papa Hugo, my mom's parents.
Yeah.
And you would go with our dad's parents, and I would stay with mom's parents.
Yeah, like when they would watch us. Yeah.
And so the reason why mom moved was because they were also moving. So they all moved together.
Oh, was that it?
Yeah.
See, like, I don't even remember, like, any of that. And I'm sure anyways, yeah.
You've heard that, but yeah, that's at least how mom describes it.
So then we all moved to Kissimmee, Florida anyways. And yeah, and that's where we grew up. Some years later, mom met who is now our stepdad, and they ended up getting married at some point. Our younger sister, who is our half-sister, Larissa, was born. And yeah, we grew up as like older sisters to her, and they ended up getting married. He joined the military, and that's where kind of like the military life went off for us. We were military kids. I don't even know how old we were. Would you say like 7 and 8 maybe? Younger?
I would say older? Like 6 and 7.
Okay.
Because they got married and started moving, I think, before Larissa was born. At least that's how I remember it.
Yeah.
But I was also like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
So
same. I don't remember much.
I wouldn't trust my memory on that one.
So military kids. The first place we moved, I believe, was Georgia.
I think it was Rucker, Alabama.
Was it?
I think it was
anyways,
Rucker.
I think it was either Georgia or Alabama.
It was either Fort Rucker or Benning.
Yeah. Fort Benning, Fort Rucker, and then we moved to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And then from North Carolina, in 2008, we found out we were going to move to Hawaii. And as you can see, from Jersey, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, North Carolina, all East Coast.
Southern East Coast.
Yeah, Southern East Coast. And to make that jump from North Carolina to Hawaii was, at that point, I didn't understand the weight of it, to be honest. Mom really felt it. Like, she did not want to come.
Yeah.
But now it's like one of her favorite places. Spoiler alert. But yeah, like that jump was pretty crazy
Yeah.
to be away from family and not driving distance from
Well,
family.
I remember that day.
I remember a little bit of that day.
I remember that day. I think Dad was graduating from OCS, or
Yeah.
Officer Candidacy School. I think he finished BOLIC or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And they originally, before he went, I guess the way they described it to us is that he was told that he could stay there until we graduated, because the school that we were going to was good. And Alyssa, as
Stay
she
in North Carolina.
yes,
Yeah.
and the school that Alyssa loves to say that she was a soccer captain at as a ninth
I
grader.
don't love to say it. It's the truth. Like I
Mm.
was.
Sorry, it's the truth. She loves to tell you the truth.
That is the truth, though.
It is the truth, but you also
But it sounds cooler than it was. It sounds cooler than
so
it
the
was.
school was
Okay. Anyway.
7th, 8th, 9th. So she was captain of the soccer team
As a
as
freshman.
a freshman,
Yeah.
but that's also the max. Like there was no 10,
But
11,
I was
12.
still the captain. Like I'm not
Fair enough.
lying.
Fair enough. But we were told we were going to stay there longer term. And so I think they were really happy that we could settle in one place that wasn't too far from our families. And then to find out we were moving, I don't
It was
think.
a shocker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was not the plan. And it wasn't like we had time. It was one of those quick moves where it's like, pack up your things, you're leaving in 3-4 months. Have a good day.
Yeah. And so before we get to talking about our life here on Oahu and all that stuff, let's go back to like military life, because I feel like nowadays we don't have many, maybe you more than I do because you work like for the Army. But like I don't have too many close friends that are military or have been military kids, grew up in the military lifestyle.
Yeah.
And for me, like I love talking about it, even though I don't remember a lot of things. Like I mean, you have access to like Schofield and Hickam and all this stuff here. And I just love when you take me on, because for me, it's very nostalgic. Like I love being on a military base. Like there's something about it that just makes my heart feel like at peace. I feel like I'm home in a way.
Well, it was home.
It was home for so long, being on
Yeah.
a military base. We never really lived off base once we became military kids. We always lived on base. And so like the familiarity of like all the houses looking exactly the same and going to the PX and all that stuff. But yeah, anyway, so that's
It's its own culture. Like being a
really
military kid is
is.
your own culture. So you grow up outside of the normal. Like I always like to put it as kids live a life where they have a white picket fence. Like what you hear America is like
yeah.
a white
The
picket
American
fence.
dream. Mhm.
They have, they live in the same small town. They know the same people all their lives.
Yeah.
Everyone in the town knows them. It's so small, everybody knows one another.
Mhm.
And military kids really have a weird experience where nobody knows them.
Yeah.
Their surroundings and their culture changes
Yeah.
constantly.
Mhm.
And then they have either one or sometimes even two parents in the service that are interchangeably gone for big chunks of time.
That's right.
So there is no constant other than the people in your household.
Yeah.
And even then, that's not always constant. So it really is its own subculture. I think it affects,
It's like its own world.
it affects how people grow up. So then the amenities become what ties you to a sense of belonging. Like, that, we go to the PX, we go to this,
Yeah.
we do that. It's what's familiar, so it feels like home because you didn't have something that was always home.
That's so true.
Like, I know you can consider Florida home, but when people ask me where I'm from, I just say everywhere and nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a hometown, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that sense of belonging for sure. Like I feel like when you go onto a base, like you were saying, and even too, like you mentioned deployment, like that's a whole nother thing too. And like
Yeah.
dad or stepdad really like stepped up and became like a big father figure in our lives. And so obviously it wasn't like happened overnight. Like when the marriage first happened, of course we had our reservations and we didn't, we're like, oh my gosh, mom's getting married, whatever. That all of course happened. But then obviously we started getting used to him and he really became like our dad. Like he is our dad. Just like our biological dad is still our dad. Like our stepdad is really like that father figure for us. And so like the deployments were hard because they're deployments. He's gone for a year. You never know what's going to happen. You always like wonder, okay, what's going to happen? Is he coming back?
Yeah.
And all that stuff. And to see like mom's strength through it all too, like is a whole nother thing as well. Because to be like a military spouse is no joke. And yeah, deployments were hard, several deployments.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really tough.
Yeah, so our dad's a pilot, so he deployed more often than some other people would because his job required him to leave a lot. And so what was interesting to me is I knew he was gone, but he always came back. You always hear like, oh, you're never the same, but they do come back a little bit different.
Yeah.
And some ways in good and some ways, you know, not so good.
Yeah.
Just because that's the nature of one being gone for so long and being around a different community for a long period of time and the stress of all of that.
And the things that you see overseas and the battle. I mean, it's a war. At the end of the day, you're fighting a war. The things you see are insane, things that people shouldn't have to witness, but they witness, you know, and that puts a toll on Dad and all that stuff. And of course, that's his story, and I would love for him to tell it one day and all that stuff. But yeah, deployments are hard on both ends, obviously for the soldier that's going, but also the family that's being left behind. And
well, I would say every deployment impacted Mom too, whether I think she realized it or not. I think in some ways good, in some ways bad. She became more independent, but also more codependent. So it's a very interesting life, the military.
The military is very interesting, and being a military kid. And I feel like it's been so long since we've even like had that title, honestly. Like we're just getting older and it's just like, because so after North Carolina, and that was a hard thing too, changing schools. And for me, sorry, going back to that, me being like an introvert and being very shy at the beginning, that was always super hard because usually you're at duty stations for like 2 to 3 years. And I think before moving here, North Carolina was our longest duty station.
Yeah.
And right when I was like, I had friends and I was getting into it and I felt comfortable, that's when it's like,
everything switches.
You gotta move again. And that's how our life was growing up. And it was really hard for me. But what about for you? Would you say that it was kind of hard to like start over and make friends?
You know, I used to think it was a lot more difficult for me than I think it was. Because I've noticed even more so now, like, I think that's just a part of who I'll always be.
Yeah.
Because I start to get like antsy, and I'll be like, I need to move furniture around. I need to redecorate. I need to.
That's me.
I need to get off the island, and it's not because I don't love it here in Hawaii, but it's because I'm so used to change every, you know, cycle every 2 to 3 years that when something doesn't change drastically in my environment, not in like my person, but in my environment, it feels foreign and it freaks me out a little bit. So I feel like I got to go somewhere. I got to go do something. Yeah. Because I'm not used to
That's so
consistency.
Weird. I think about that sometimes and I'm like, are we going to be like that for our entire life?
I think I will be like that in my entire life.
That is insane. Like we're seeing it with Mom. She's lived in how many houses since she's been like retired? Even us.
Since we've lived here on the island, we've moved almost every year.
Almost every year. And this place that we're in has been one of the longest places where we currently live.
And but it's also because most resembles a military house.
Yeah.
The layout of it most resembles, at least from anything we lived in here, that was relative to our life prior.
That is insane. That is crazy to think about that we'll be like, anyways. So moving here to Hawaii, we were in high school. I was in high school. You were in 8th grade.
I was in 8th grade.
I was a freshman and we lived on base up until we graduated high school.
No.
What?
We lived on a military reservation.
Yeah. Well, we lived on Schofield, then we moved to AMR. But we lived on base our whole high school time, And then we switched high schools halfway through. So we were going to one, and then we graduated in another that was closer in town here. And again, switching again, making new friends in this pivotal time. And then they had to move. The Army had to move Mom, Dad, and Larissa to Texas. At the time, they were PCSing to Texas. What does PCS even mean? Also, side note.
Permanent change of station.
Permanent change of station. They PCS to Texas, Fort Bliss, I believe.
Yes.
And then we decided we didn't want to leave. And at that time, you were 18, I was 19. And we were old enough to obviously do our own thing. So we ended up getting an apartment right before they left. Yeah. And wow. Can you believe that we did it?
I honestly look back and I'm like, we were crazy. But not only were we crazy, why in the world did our parents allow us to do that?
They were, I don't know. That's true. I mean, but like, obviously they trusted us. But here's the thing is they never said, okay, you can stay here in Hawaii and we are going to help you, like, you know, financially. No, it was never like that. We never got we never got money for rent.
Nope.
We never got money for gross, none of that. Like, Dad was very adamant about, like, this is your guys' decision to stay here, so you got to make it work. Make sure you have a job. If you're going to go to college, you're paying for college. If you're going to do student loans, you're paying for your own student loans. You work hard for what you want to do. And that's how we were raised. And I am so glad that we were raised that way, because it has taught us so much, and which is why we are where we are today. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh yeah, stay in Hawaii, here's your, you know, they helped us with the security deposit on our first house, and that's it. Never did we get rent from them. And to me, that's like, I feel like when I look back at it, I'm like, wow, we actually did that. That's crazy. Because
with way less than what we have now.
With way less. Like, our rent was at its peak in our first apartment, and we pay less now than we did when we first, and we were making less then, and we make more now.
Way less then.
Way less. That is crazy.
And we were paying for school semester by semester.
For school, which is why I didn't finish school, because I didn't want to take out loans, and so I paid out of pocket, and I was like, all right, well, I don't have any money to pay for school, so I'm done with school for now. And then it ended up working out anyways. But yeah, I think I'm super grateful for our parents for teaching us that, and never like saying, oh, are you guys good on rent? Like, what, like, maybe they would check in, but they were never like, oh, do you need money for rent? Or here's, of course, Christmas and birthdays, they would give us money, whatever. You know, randomly they'd be like, oh, we're proud of you guys. Here's like $100, whatever. But it was never to the point of like where we were dependent on them financially. And I love that Dad told us that, like, your choice to stay here, so you're going to make it work. And so we did. So at the time,
I don't know if you remember, but even as we were thinking about this, I recall Dad taking us to like those like rich dad, poor dad seminar things. He would give us books to read. He'd be like, let's sit down and do a budget. And I'd be like, I don't need to do all this. And he was like, well, if you're going to live here on your own, you kind of need to. Yeah. And it was, I mean, I don't know if I retained much of any of that, but I think it opened my eyes to realize, oh, I got to make it work. Like, because they didn't have to, they knew it. We were 18. If we wanted to stay here, it was kind of our thing. I remember even Dad saying, like, when we dropped them off at the airport, he was like, if your account ever goes below X amount of money, that money will be used to buy you a one-way ticket back to where we are.
Wow. Did he tell me that too?
Yes, he did tell us that.
Wow, I have no like memory of that.
And I remember that was like, for me, I was like,
eye-opener.
It'll never get that low.
Yeah, because we loved it so much here, and we still do. We love this island, and we owe so much to so many people here that have become like family. And yeah, this is like the most beautiful place ever, and amazing people, amazing culture. So yeah, that's why we wanted to stay. We had a great church family that we love and we're a part of. We have a great community, and so that's why we wanted to stay. We couldn't see ourselves leaving. But yeah, so good, like those life lessons, and so glad that obviously we made it work, and we never were. There was a time where it was sketchy when we lived in Chinatown. If you don't know,
why did we do that?
Chinatown, we moved to Chinatown. We lived in Manoa. Really nice place. So for people who don't know, Manoa is a really nice area. There's a lot of older people there, so it's very quiet. It was really nice.
It's what you think Hawaii neighborhoods would look like.
Yeah, in a way, Manoa. Yes. And then we moved to Chinatown after that.
We sure did.
Because it was like the cost of living was very affordable at that time. We were paying way less. Well, not way less, but we were paying less than Manoa. Sure. So we're like, let's move to Chinatown. Worst decision. If you are two young girls, do not move to Chinatown, because it is sketch city there, okay? We lived next to neighbors who were probably like
dealing drugs
100%. Yeah, there's just not like, I
recall not wanting to move to Chinatown.
I don't know, but anyways, we moved there and it was just the worst. Like, I literally feared we'd have to pass our neighbor drug dealers every time to get to our door. And
you would like run.
I would run, like I'd be fidgeting, like opening the key, like, let me
or
just
if I was opening it slowly, she'd be like, hurry up!
I can't believe that we actually like would come home at separate times. Like, thinking back, I'm like, why would we not make sure to come home at the same time? Just to have a backup. Fun story about Chinatown that we have to share though.
Okay, what is it?
We were at Chinatown. Cost of living here in Hawaii is very expensive, but we lived in a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. Super small. We shared a room. We
no
had
aircon.
no air conditioning. We had bunk beds, but we separated them to just be regular beds.
Twin
size. And one night in the middle of the night, was it the middle of the night or
Yeah,
early morning?
It was like 2 or 3 in the morning.
The fire alarm goes off. Mind you, this is the first time we've lived in an apartment building.
Yeah.
Our first apartment building. The fire alarm goes off in the middle of the night. And we're like, oh my gosh, the building's on fire. What do we do?
Yeah.
So we're like, as normal people would do, we get up, we grab our bag, and we start going. We were like, we can't go on the elevator.
We're on like the 12th floor.
Yeah, we're on the 12th floor. We're like, we can't go down the elevator. That's not what you're supposed to do in a fire, right? Fire alarm's going off. We're like, we got to take the stairs. Luckily, the stairs are right next to our apartment building or our room. And we start booking it down the stairs. And we're like, this is weird. We're like going down. Nobody else is coming down the stairs, whatever. We literally get down to the bottom floor out of the building in our pajamas with our one little purse or whatever. Nobody exits this building.
Not one person.
Not one soul.
Not one.
And we're standing out there like, are we okay? Like, what?
And we stood out there for a solid like 15, 20 minutes.
We're like, you know what? Who cares? We're safe. If there's a fire, we're out of this building. Nobody else is.
I remember being livid. Like, was there a memo or something that came out that told everyone the fire alarm was going to go off and to ignore it?
Yeah.
Like,
literally,
we didn't
were
get
the
the
only
letter.
people. Anyway, so after a few minutes of being outside, we get back into our building, we go back to bed, and we're like, frustrated. We're like, what the heck? Like, what happened? Blah, blah, blah. That's a fun story about Chinatown. After Chinatown, we moved to, was it Waikele?
Salt Lake.
Salt Lake?
Yes.
Where? Oh, yes. We moved to Salt Lake with
Yes,
two
we
of our
did.
friends, Mel and Pua. And then there was a time where we actually, like, this was like the craziest part, where we actually didn't have like a place because our lease ended in Salt Lake with Mel and Pua. And we were still trying to get a place in Waikele.
We're still waiting for this other place to open so that we could live there.
So it was like 2 weeks or something like that, where we were like technically homeless. We had to take all of our stuff to the storage unit, and we lived with our friend, Maka, Mel, and Pua, because they moved in with Maka. So we're like, can we just move in for like 2 weeks, guys, till we went? It was like the worst. All of our stuff in storage unit, wasted money there. Like slept in Maka's room for like 2 weeks, however long it was. We went through the parking at Salt Lake, which is nuts if you live in Salt Lake.
But one thing I will say, if you don't know who Maka is, she's a saint.
Yeah.
Like,
to let us literally have her room.
Yeah. She said, I'm going to sleep on the couch. You guys sleep in my room. Don't pay me anything. Don't give me anything. Stay as long as you need.
Literally amazing.
Like,
yeah.
Who does that?
Who does that? Honestly, thank you, Maka, if you're watching.
An angel.
Yeah, an
Truly.
angel. And then we moved to Waikele finally. We got the place. It's a townhouse, 2-bedroom, 2-bath. And then
Our own rooms.
Our own rooms. Finally, we have been sharing a room, tiny little room for how many years? Finally moved to Waikele. And then air conditioning is so nice. It was so good. And then Pono moved in when we got married, and we lived there for a little bit. Then we moved to Salt Lake, back again into a 4-bedroom, 4-bath house, which is really nice now.
Which is also another huge blessing.
Huge blessing. So that's where we live now. We all live together, and yeah, it's been quite the journey. But yeah, we've definitely had our challenges living together.
Yeah.
Even after like I got married, there's always still challenges to this day. We're always still working on how we can be better together. But yeah,
I think for the most part we work together well. Like there hasn't been anything
we've
too
learned
crazy.
A lot. Yeah, we've learned a lot, especially the time period where we had to share a car because I got into an accident. Like literally.
So the month our parents were moving back, they gave Alyssa a car and they gave me a car. So we both had our own cars. And then the story is yet to be fully released to me. I don't.
What? There's a story.
My mom claims that you were on the phone and that's how you crashed into your car.
Yeah, I was switching music. I wasn't texting or I wasn't on. I was switching my music.
But she like adamantly denied at the time that she was on her phone.
Did I?
Yes.
That's weird.
Oh, is it? Oh. Weird.
Yeah, I was definitely on the phone. Switching my music. I remember I was listening to Demi Lovato. Specifically, I remember that.
So like when you crashed, was Demi still playing in the background?
I don't remember. That part is a blur. But I definitely, like, we were in traffic and I didn't know traffic was slowing down, and I slammed my brake and I still like hit the back of another car. It was nothing super major.
Yeah, it wasn't a major accident.
It wasn't like a major accident. My car was done though. So in a way it was a major accident, but it wasn't like anybody got hurt.
So
or
her
anything
car
like
was
that.
totaled. So I'll paint you the picture. Alyssa is out I don't know what she's doing. My parents are in a hotel at this point waiting, like
Literally
with
about
TLA.
to move.
Yeah, for temporary lodging because they're literally leaving in the next 2 weeks. Because you only get TLA for like 10 days. So it's literally right before they leave. And I'm at work and I get a phone call at work and it's my mom and she's crying. And she's like, Alyssa got in an accident. You need to come home. And I'm like, are you okay? Like my home or your home? Like what's happening? She's like, just get to the hotel ASAP. So then I'm freaking out. I tell my boss is really nice, lets me leave. I get to the hotel. I'm looking for them. And I come in, I'm like, I don't have the key to the room. Like, what room are you guys in? And my mom's like, go get Larissa from the pool. I said, why is Larissa in the pool? What's happening? I get Larissa and she's in No Rush, which is also a crazy story because the girl Larissa was playing with there ended up being someone that was in my life group years on later down the road, which is crazy. But we go up to the room. Larissa has a key. We open the door. My mom's cooking in the little kitchenette. I don't know where my dad, I think he was grabbing dinner. And Alyssa's laying on one of the beds, hands behind her head,
Lounging.
chilling, remote in hand. I kid you not.
And that's what you come home to.
Yeah, and I'm like, what's happening? And mom's like, oh, dad went to go get dinner or something like, or oh, we're gonna go eat.
Super casual.
Yeah, like nothing happened. And I said, hello, I left work early. What's going on? And then you're like, I don't want to talk about it. And you just keep flipping the channels. And then I was like, someone needs to tell me what's going on because I left work and I'm super confused and I don't understand what's happening. And I finally get some tidbit of information that mom's like, well, Alyssa claims she wasn't on her phone, but she totaled her car. And at this point, I think they're joking with me because Alyssa doesn't have a single scratch on her.
Yeah.
Like she's flipping through channels. And then that happened. I guess her car was totaled. She, for the next few days was like, oh, I have whiplash. Oh, my neck. And I remember being like, are you kidding me?
The way
you
you
have whiplash?
did that was funny, but
yeah, we were doing like little things.
There
and
was
you were
little
like,
things. Yeah.
My neck is still killing me.
Oh my god.
And I was like, somebody get this girl an Oscar.
Wow.
Because she is just living it up right now.
Yeah, that was horrible. And then we had to share a car.
Yeah.
For however long, but yeah,
I think
good times.
We shared a car all the way up until we lived in YPO.
Yeah. And it's been crazy, but I think definitely, going back to like just growing up and being so close in age, I think that's been like just going through all those moments together, like honestly, like living together after high school and all that stuff, like being able to have somebody, a sister, a family member, because you literally have been the only blood family member that has lived here on island with me. We've done it together since 2012. You know what I mean? Like we've never had any family member. We don't have any aunts, grandparents, whatever here. Now I have my in-laws, which is amazing. But like we did it, and I don't know. I'm proud of us. Yeah, we did it. Yeah, Ryder likes to say, we did it, because he got it from a show. So, but yeah, we did it. Truly, and I'm super proud of us, and yeah, lots of memories growing up, and just super proud of you that you made it this far. We both made it this far, and you're in the career that you're in now is pretty awesome, because I know that it's a career that you seem to enjoy, and that also will take you places too. And so yeah, any exciting things happening for you nowadays that you want to close us out with?
Nope.
I talked about us moving. You're still in the plans of like what you're going to do next when we move to Alabama. She's not moving to Alabama, for anybody wondering. We'll see where she goes from here. But yeah, just super, super thankful for you and the sisterhood. And I hope to do one of these with Larissa one day too. In Alabama. That would be fun. And maybe all three of us one day. That would be super, super fun. I don't know if all three
of us can handle a single conversation for half an hour on
camera. It would
be
like nuts, dude.
Yeah. Well, you guys would be nuts. I think I would just sit here.
Yeah, you'd probably be annoyed by us.
Yeah.
Because we're like super jokesters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy jokesters. But well, thanks for joining me today and talking about our childhood, the parts that we do remember. And thanks for being an awesome sister and always supporting all of my crazy creative dreams that I have and hearing me out, giving me ideas, and also for babysitting Ryder and watching him, giving us a little break. Ryder loves his Auntie Quell, which before we close, she's Auntie Quell because
that's not my name.
One day we would put Q's in front of words like, why? Why do you do that?
What?
And then what? And then I started saying, we call her Mel, so I started saying Quell. And now
And she continued to say it solely because it irritated me.
I literally only call her Quell, never Mel, rarely Melissa. It's always Quell, and now Ryder calls you Quell. And to me, it's the best thing ever. You act like you hate it, but I know low-key inside you love it. But anyways, thank you, Auntie Quell, for joining us today.
Melissa.
And yeah, just thank you for joining us and always supporting and being a part of Let's Talk Story today. For everybody who wants to follow her on social media that she's never active on, it's at the Melissa Vega.
You're not missing
you won't
anything.
see any posts really, but you can follow her.
There's nothing to see.
Yeah, there's nothing to really see, but
unless you want to watch a recap of me going to Japan 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's
then
probably
go
like
ahead.
your last post. But anyways, thanks for joining us, and super stoked for the next episode. So make sure you join us. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you in the next episode, guys. Bye.